Ya, pemirsa, pertemuan regional World Economic Forum atau WEF tengah berlangsung saat ini di JCC Senayan. Dan kita segera bergabung ke JCC Senayan untuk mengikuti jalannya pertemuan.
The many people who really want to build a better life for themselves, for their children, for their families. I think we see enormous efforts in all countries to really move forward, and I think what the efforts to really create an ASEAN economic community will strengthen that growth momentum, and so there is enormous interest from the rest of the world in ASEAN countries and the ASEAN economic community, and clearly they believe that it's an absolute must to invest here. Of course, also and especially in Indonesia, because it's by far the largest country by population, and really to participate not just in the market, but also to use the talent that is here, and that of course still needs to be developed as another major economic base like China, like India and other parts of the world, and also to export from here. So I think the expectation for the future development, future investments is very strong. I think in terms of the forum, I think a lot has to happen still in terms of transparency, understanding. I think even though, of course, I talked about the ASEAN economic community, there is a broad range of countries, societies with very different developments, conditions. And I think the forum will provide opportunities for providing better understanding for those who come from the outside. But I think it's also important to provide better understanding among the different countries and societies. And as Papuri said, not just only among the elites. Ideally, I think over the coming years, I think also the people in the different countries need to get a better understanding of what it means to be part of this community, and that actually working together is really providing a win-win. And I think the forum here in Jakarta can reinforce the sense of it's a win-win. It's not, yes, we are also to some extent in competition, but above all, if we work together, if we open up to each other, if we really make better use of our talent together, our natural resources, connect through better infrastructure, I think everybody will win, and it will reinforce the importance of Southeast Asia as one of the major economic regions in the world.
Thank you. And so we started with Indonesia, with Tauhidi and the importance of financial inclusion. I'd like to end with Indonesia also. Joan Riyadi, Executive Director of the Lippo Group, you've recently written about the pace of change, the need for institutions to follow that pace of change. I'd love you to share a little bit more about that, and also the implications for what we should take away from this particular meeting.
Sure. Thank you very much, Alina. First of all, I'd like to commend the World Economic Forum for allowing Indonesia the opportunity to host this year's East Asia meeting. I think this speaks highly to Indonesia's relevance on all the major global challenges that we face today, whether it be economic change, political change, democracy, radical Islam, the environment. You go down the list. Indonesia has a lot of relevance. Indonesia has a lot to contribute and a lot to share. So I think that's wonderful of the forum to have it in Indonesia. But I think the hosting of this forum in Indonesia goes beyond Indonesia's relevance. This is the East Asia meeting of the World Economic Forum, but I think over the last, at least that I can recall, 6-7 years, it has always been hosted in an ASEAN country. So while this is an East Asia meeting, ASEAN has continued to play a very important role. So I think the forum's decision to host to hold this meeting in Indonesia speaks not only to Indonesia's relevance, but also is a vote of confidence on ASEAN and what we have achieved and the opportunities for this region. I would also like to commend the World Economic Forum for the topic and the theme of trust. When my grandfather, Dr. Mokhtar Riyadi, told his father that he wanted to start a bank and become a banker. And at the time, in East Java. His father thought he was crazy, and his father thought that, how can you be a banker if you've got no money? And by the way, you mentioned about banks, Dutch banks being here over the last 350 years. My grandfather grew up looking at the VOC and looking at people coming in and out of the office with their really good-looking suits. And he said, I want to be a banker. And that was his aspiration. So his father actually chastised him for wanting to be in banking. But he's always believed that banking, like any business, is not about the buying and selling of money, but rather the trading of trust. Banking is not about money, it's not about assets and liabilities, it's about trust. And I think that remains true today, and it remains true to what business is for us. And also, it remains to be, in my view, the biggest challenge that business as an institution face in today's world. I think today, people have lost confidence in the ability of businesses and markets to be able to fairly create wealth and allocate opportunities. Oxfam earlier this year came out with a report where it said that the top 1% of the people of this world own more in assets or earn more than the rest of the 99%. Now, I'm not saying we need to, whether that's a right or a wrong outcome. I think that may just reflect sort of the economic dynamics of the world. But I think those that have been given more resources should ask ourselves what we're doing with those resources. How are we stewarding those resources, and how can we be better stewards of that resources? So I think the topic of trust is important. I think businesses are facing, today are required to rethink about what the role of business is. And I thank the World Economic Forum for allowing us this platform to think about this. And for us, for the Lipo Group, as we continue to expand in Indonesia, as we continue to expand around the region, this is what drives our business. We think that efficiency, returns, and all that, I think it's a given. It's not either or. I think that's a necessary given. But I think we'd like to continue to challenge ourselves to go beyond that and to see what we can do through our businesses to make this world a better place. I'd like to share with you a quote from Paul Modesina, and he's a writer, and he says that society and business need to move away from a system in which people do good by doing well, that is, benefit others and the planet only as a byproduct of focusing on personal profit, to a system in which one does well by doing good, when providing true leadership and services as a central priority, and financial returns and personal enrichment are merely the corollaries. Obviously, I share this quote not to say that we are there, but to show that this is an aspiration that we work towards. So I hope with the forum, I hope that, if you ask me what I hope to come out of this forum, is that I hope that in our own ways, whether it be business, whether it be government, whether it be the NGO, education, media, wherever we are, wherever we've been placed, that we can be better stewards of the resources, of the responsibilities that has been afforded to us. And I hope that if we all do our own little parts, I think we can work towards the forum's vision of improving the state of this world. Thank you.
Thank you. So you've heard perspectives from each of our 5 co-chairs for this World Economic Forum on East Asia. We do have a little time for questions. I'll take 3 from the floor. I would ask you to state your name and organization and be very brief. Are there any questions we have one in the front, one at the back there, the lady with the black cardigan. So we'll take you first, please.
Thank you very much for the time. I'm Roni Satria from CNN Indonesia. My question is, how would the regionalism, particularly in Southeast Asia, towards the AEC 2015, be shared equally? While we know that Southeast Asia has each country has a different in terms of potentials and also resources. Thank you.
Thank you. And the question at the back, we'll just take that first.
Hello, thanks for the opportunity. I'm Mashita Baziat from Net TV Indonesia. I was actually moved by your statement about how to bring this World Economic Forum is not only to the elite that we usually talk about, but to bring it down to the people. So for now, I just wanted to ask maybe what is actually your effort to bring this World Economic Forum, which is so high up there, bring it down to the people? What topics, what is the effort that we would like to know about that? Thank you.
Perfect. So we have a question on, with the diversity of the region, how do you create coherence, and how we are engaging with civil society here at the meeting and in efforts. Who would like to take that, these questions?
I would like to take the first one. Actually, I think to the belief or the demand that everybody should share equally in the ASEAN economic community, it probably is may I say, misplaced, because I think there's nothing like equal opportunity right from the start, throughout the process and so forth. We'll see some moving faster and some which we may not even expect that they move faster, and others may be a bit further behind because they want to protect their special interests, and therefore they will share less in the rewards. So I think, what is important is to open up, to create a level playing field. And I'm not talking about the big foreign MNCs. I'm talking about players here in the markets. Could be small, medium-sized enterprises who suddenly have an opportunity to really engage in other parts of the region. And I think it is important. The more we open up, the less regulated this is, the more the smaller players have a chance. Because if there's heavy regulation, I think the big companies, the big players can benefit much more, because they have the departments, the lawyers, and the people to deal with those issues. So I think it's very important not to ask for a tightly regulated process that will ensure that everybody will be treated equally.
Ya, pemirsa, demikian konferensi pers dari beberapa perwakilan peserta di World Economic Forum on East Asia dari Hotel Shangri-La Jakarta.